So I'm the Senior Vice President of Database Services. So I was overseeing everything related to databases and how we interface with our applications, and I've been the center of it all. We have our infrastructure team that handles networking and so forth, and security. We handle database security, and then we also handle all the transactional systems behind the scenes that the applications are communicating with. This is an enormous opportunity for Valid. It positions us for the future. We were being held back by the infrastructure and the service provider. We could not move as fast as we needed to. We were constantly fighting capacity issues. And so this gives us the ability to modernize, take advantage of all the new technologies that are out there, the cloud technologies, the cloud data warehousing, data sharing. We can move so much faster. We are already moving faster. We're already making improvements to our systems. Within weeks of the migration, we're already doing things faster and better. We had some challenges in that, as with any migration, nothing ever goes according to plan. We had challenges immediately with some of our systems were more complex and more difficult to migrate than we had planned. Even our service provider was a little taken aback by the complexity of our systems and how intertwined they were and how difficult it was to move them without breaking them. And one of the things we discovered right away was that some of our plans just weren't going to work. And we took full advantage of that to go ahead and push for modernization during the migration, not necessarily after the migration. So we modernized, we came up to date on all of our database software, all of our operating system software. Everything is on the latest and greatest operating systems and versions of SQL Server. We upgraded our Snowflake environment. A lot of things that weren't planned for actually were accomplished as part of our migration, and still accomplished within the time frame we originally set out to accomplish it in. So we were pleasantly surprised. We worked very hard to do that. It was a very large effort. We increased our workload as we went and still pulled it off. I am blessed to have a home in a small rural community in Colorado, and that's where I was on the night of the migration. We actually had planned the migration for the database platforms in 3 phases. We did a phase on Friday morning, another phase on Saturday morning, and then the master migration was happening overnight, Saturday night into Sunday morning. Midday on Saturday, all the communications to the town of Pagosa Springs, Colorado went dark. There was no landline phones, there were no cell phones, there was no internet. Everything was dark, and we're in the middle of a migration. And I'm hours from needing to be online for the final cutover. And I found a friend who had a Starlink and sent out a message to my team letting them know what had happened. My CIO got online and said, "Hey, I need you. Do whatever it takes to be online tonight." So I packed up all of my gear and drove an hour and a half to Durango, Colorado, checked into a Homewood Suites, set up. I had 2 little mini remote monitors set up there, and I worked all night from Durango, Colorado on the migration on these little tiny screens. It was not ideal, and it was storming outside. So if you couldn't set up a better movie scene for something, that was it. So that was my experience. The next morning, I got about 2 hours sleep before I had to check out a hotel, and then had to drive back to Pagosa Springs. And luckily, I knew everything was functional again in Pagosa Springs because my Spartan home started talking to me. So I got back to Pagosa Springs, logged back in, and went through a lot of cleanup that day and crashed that night. And so that was an unexpected challenge on the night of migration. That's another blessing of working with Valid Systems is we have a lot of very highly skilled and dedicated employees, and most of the company works remote. And so we had a team online that night across 3 time zones, all the way from Atlanta to Durango, Colorado. And we never missed a beat because we have gotten used to working in a remote environment. We chat, we had an ongoing war room in a Teams meeting going on. You wouldn't know we weren't all sitting in the same room working together. You hear a lot of horror stories about cloud migrations, and this was not my first. And nothing ever goes according to plan. There's always something that comes up. And before we launched into the actual migration that evening, I even coached the team. I said, hey, listen, something's going to go wrong. Something always goes wrong. Nobody lose your heads. Nobody panic. Everybody just work the problem. And it happened. We had issues right down to I had to go to a hotel to do my part of the migration. But we had issues that occurred during the migration, and everybody kept their heads, everybody kept their cool. We worked the problems. We got to the end a little later than we had hoped. But honestly, this migration, for all of its challenges, was probably the smoothest cloud migration I've ever worked on. The fact that we actually pulled this off in the time we did it with no major impact to our clients is phenomenal.